Vulkan, the Lord of Fire, Primarch of the Salamanders, was beloved by most of his brothers and by the people of the worlds he brought into compliance. He was seen as a gentle giant who would unleash his fury to defend those he deeply cared for. It's always funny, though, to find that the kindest and gentlest souls can be driven to acts of such unimaginable cruelty. The Salamander's Legion had just finished the cleansing of the world of Kalek, driving to extinction the native Xenos population, powerful reptilian hominids that towered over the average Astartes. It transpired that the Kalekid had developed an advanced philosophy concerning their disgust of war, and had restricted such armed combat in such a way that it was kept contained within vast slaughterhouses. These slaughterhouses were massive in size, several kilometers in diameter. Having ascertained why the Kalekid had assembled within their slaughterhouses, the Salamanders prepared to face them in honourable combat. However, Vulkan received word that the Emperor requested his immediate aid. Vulkan took the opportunity to refuse to engage the Kalekid within their marked-out fields of battle, and simply had the species destroyed en masse from afar. When Vulkan returned to his flagship, the Flame-Wrought, he was surprised to see a party of Ultramarines awaiting his return. The leader of this group of Ultramarines, Theoreticus Augustin, claimed to have urgent news for the Primarch. Vulkan said that it would have to wait, for he had been summoned by the Emperor himself. Augustin stated that this was far more important. Vulkan scoffed at the thought. What could possibly be more important than his father? Theoreticus Augustin pressed for Vulkan to humour him, holding a small black stone in his hand, presenting it to the Primarch. Vulkan looked at the small trinket and flung it back at the Ultramarine, growling in annoyance to not waste his valuable time. Augustin and his men, in response, drew their weapons and opened fire. A violent gun battle erupted upon the bridge of the ship. Vulkan smashed Augustin's head clean from his shoulders with a single blow from his hammer, Dawnbringer, before crushing another Ultramarine's ribcage to dust. A lucky blast from a plasma gun caught Vulkan point blank in the eye, causing the Primarch to stagger and fall to the deck with a deafening thud. Soon, all the Ultramarines lay dead on the bridge, along with several Salamanders and Servitors who were caught in the crossfire. Shortly after, the first captain, Artellus Numion, and members of the Pyre Guard stormed the bridge to find the scene of the carnage. Numion hurriedly rushed to his Primarch's side and shook his head in despair. Vulkan was bleeding heavily from the head, where his flesh had been blasted to the bare bone, and his one remaining eye was closed. The puddle of blood flowed all over the metal deck, until it touched a small black shard that Vulkan had dismissed but a few moments earlier, which gave out a single, gentle pulse. Vulkan found his soul drifting in the ether. A large spectral creature, in the form of a vast black and white dragon, spoke to him. It told Vulkan that he must travel to Istvan V. His brother Rogel Dawn and the Dauntless Few needed his aid, for the good of humanity and the Imperium. The shard pulsed once more, and Vulkan sat upright, and his flesh began to slowly knit back together. Artellus Numion and the Pyre Guard viewed it as a miracle, and began to stomp and chant, "Vulkan lives! Vulkan lives!"